Hey guys, welcome back to the third part of our series for kite fishing. This particular one, we're going to go over some of the common riggings you see for your hook rig sets, and then how to set them up and apply them onto the flying fish that you get. So here what I have is one of our hook rigs we'll go over. This is just an owner offshore, so it's basically an offset J hook. It's not a full circle or anything like that. That's a 5/0 treble hook on the back there, and 5/0s. Most 5/0s are pretty similar in size, but every brand's got their own sizing that they go off of that might be a little bit different. Sometimes mustad hooks are a little bit smaller, and the owner sizing is a little bit bigger on a 5/0. But nevertheless, 5/0, 6/0, you should be perfectly fine on any of those. What I have here is a 7732, so this is a mustad hook on here, and it's an open throat mustad hook. And this guy's the same thing. It's another 5/0 treble on the back of there. The line we're using on here is, we call it Marlin Hard. It's basically diamond extra hard. This is 300-pound line. You really should never need anything more than 300-pound line on this stuff. You could 400-pound gives you a nice peace of mind. Great, use it. It's fine. But you're never going to burn through 300-pound line. You'll use these hook rigs usually a couple times before you got to re-rig them. So what we got here too is I've got all the rest of the tools you need to set up a flyer. I personally use a stapler offshore. Not necessary. You don't have to use these staplers. These are just little Bosch staplers. I have some popsicle sticks or tongue depressors down here. The other option you could use is like a shish kebab stick. You can find those at any grocery store, and you can use the zip ties for that one. I don't set my stuff up that way. I set it a little bit differently, and this is just how I'm setting it up. Again, there's 100 ways to rig it and do it, but this will work for you guys. Trust me. The other one we got a bottom line flyer here. We're going to open this puppy up and get going. So I don't get these guys completely defrosted before I rig them. This one here has been sitting here for a minute and probably is all the way defrosted. It's not, necessary. In fact, if you keep them frozen and a little more, they'll stay a little more intact when you're running around. If you waves in the air and you got to move around a little bit, it's just, you get a more hardy bait out of it. They're still par frozen. What we're going to do, obviously you got to pull the wings out, right? So we're going to get our popsicle sticks here. And you could Sharpie them. I Sharpied this one. You don't have to. I just do it because it looks prettier, right? And we're making a nice video. Why not make it look pretty? But it does kind of camouflage it a little bit. So you'll want to make sure you measure your sizing out on here. And I cut a little cross like that, and a cross like that. Basically, it'll just make little points for you to go through onto. And then I'll spread the wings a little bit, go just below or just above the shoulder line there, and put that puppy all the way through. So you can kind of see that there. It's already gone through. And then I'll take one edge here. I'll throw a staple down on that one. Do our other edge here. Kind of lined it up. I don't know if you can see that super well, but I lined it up basically you can't see this part from underneath. So see how that's looking there. We're gonna throw another staple down there, and then I'll put a couple more in here just for peace of mind. And that'll do that one pretty well. So you got your flyers nicely rigged here. The wings are out, looks good. Can't really see those wings from underneath the flyer or see that popsicle stick or anything. Then we'll take what our first hook rig will do. I'll show you how to set this puppy up. Real important one. When we sell hook rigs here, they always have like a little stop on them. It'd be a real smart idea to make sure you take that off before you try and do any rigging. All right, so now that you got your hook protector off on there, you're going to take this guy, and I'll usually just go into the shoulder meat up above here. So if you can kind of see that, I'm kind of following it around into here, and I'm going through. You'll end up little shoulder hook on the flyer like that. The other thing you can kind of do here that would help you a little bit is I got a rubber band in my pocket. we can get you. So before you put that in, sometimes what you can do here, show you this little way to bridle it. It gives you just a little extra, basically, a little extra support. So you would come down on this guy, right? And then you can give this a couple twists, kind of like if you're bridling a bait or something like that, right? It's basically the same thing. And then go up and over onto this guy. And basically that just gives you a little extra security. What I do usually after I do that is I'll tuck these rubber bands into the gill plates here. Open them up and kind of tuck the rubber band in. Do the same thing on this side. Kind of tuck it in behind the gills. That just kind of hides it a little bit. It doesn't really probably do that much. Then once you've done that, you'll take razor up here and you'll measure it out and be, all right, we'll probably put our hook rig somewhere in the back right here. And you literally just go straight in the back. What that does is that creates a flyer that's just sitting on top of the water nicely. You really don't want your flyer sitting there in the water like this, like you're crucifying the thing or anything like that. It's preferably you want to make sure that this thing's scooting across the water nicely and just fluttering. The other hook rig I'll show you real quick is one I mainly use a lot of the time. So we showed you the one hook rig. We're going to go over to the offset J hook rig. And this one kind of, the way I rigged this one, it kind of more low profile and it sits a little flatter on the head of the flyer. I'll show you what I do real quick. I'm putting the rubber band around, right? And then you're going to do this kind of again like you're bridling a bait. So I'll just keep going a couple times here. So once you get a little bit narrowed up, we'll throw this guy down on the flyer here. So, and again, I go around and underneath and to the hook rig there. But the trick on this one is going to be for you guys, when you rig this, you again want it sitting underneath the gill plates. Now this thing's really defrosting on me fast, so this is a good example of why we tell people to keep it par frozen or fully frozen. Because it keeps the blood from coming out everywhere and your bottom of your flyer looking a little rough. So once you have this guy kind of rubber band like that, you're going to do a couple twists again. And then we'll go back underneath here. Again, just like you're bridling a bait. All right, now we got all the slack taken out. Watch that treble hook. I don't know if you guys can see that pretty well. So it's twisted, it's nice and tight. It's going to sit nice and flat now. And then what I do lastly is I go through the shoulder of the meat a bit, just like this. And then slide this rubber band all the way up. And you see how that lays super, super flat on the top of this flyer, right? And then you'll take your treble hook again, and we'll go straight into the back. Just like that. All right, so once you got your flyer rigged and everything, obviously, you know, this style, I kind of prefer a little more. It lays it real flat. It's really secure to the bait. You're not tearing too much meat up. You just clip to your loop. And then again, it's the same kind of deal. You want this thing just nice and flat on the water. If you got your head out of water or like you're crucifying the thing, you might get bit, but you're probably not looking at good chances of getting bit on that one. This particular one, you can kind of see like this flyer's gotten really defrosted. I just want to take that chance to like really go over how important it is to keep these things partially frozen when you're rigging them. Just enough that you can get your skewer or whatever it is you're using to fix the ring or the wings together through the body of the flyer. And then once you're done with that, I take these, usually I put a couple pre-rigged during my trip. You know, before we even leave the harbor, I got 2 or 3 or 4 rigged, and I go straight to the cooler and I cover these puppies up all with ice to keep them as frozen as possible until you're ready to deploy them. That's the only way you can really save and make these baits look real pretty and nice. Like this one's been out for a little while, it's starting to get dried out. You can see how the scales will start rubbing off and everything, and believe it or not, sometimes that makes a huge difference. If these fish are picky and you see them just shining underneath your bait and they're not getting picked up, there's probably something funky going on with your bait. Maybe your hooks are too visible, or you never know, maybe you got like the one derpy wing going where it's just kind of hanging off to the side. That can make a huge effect to that one too. So I really like this style of rigging it. You can kind of see how low profile everything is. Even if those fish are really picky, they're not going to see these hooks on here, not a chance. And it sits nicely and everything. So that's a real good way to get these going. Your other options are always going to be like the Cali Flyer and everything. Those have their purpose and their time and place. You know, you're moving around a lot and you don't want to tear up the flyers that you have pre-rigged. It's a great opportunity to throw the Cali Flyer out or the Delta Flyer out and cruise around and cover some ground for a minute, or even throw the Mad Max out. You know, I think in the past few weeks we've had the Mad Max start to pick up a little bit, where guys are finally trolling them again and getting a few baits here and there on them. And that's a good way to cover ground until you get to a spot of meat where you can, you know, get it sideways and soak them, or even, you know, you got a foamer day where you're just lifting this thing in the air, foamer popped up 100 yards away, you pick it up, pull up and around so you get a nice downward shot on that thing, and then send it down. If you need custom rigs or custom hook rigs done or anything like that, we have all this stuff ready to go and packaged in the store. But if you have specific hook rigs you want done, or specific ways you want your hook rigs done, you don't have the time to do it, you're more than welcome to come in the shop. We'll rig them out for you, get it all dialed, help you make sure you get out there and have all the equipment done and ready, so you're not sitting and rigging while you're sitting in the trough spinning. All right, guys, so lastly, we're going to go over just a kite rigging real quick on your Cali Flyer. So what we're going to do, we took some 300-pound, just 300-pound marlin hard or extra hard diamond, and she's got a couple holes here. So there's one that you see going in right here, and there's one through the front end of this guy here. Generally, we're going to go for the kite, we're going to go through the one on the top here. And it's really easy, you just feed your line through, super simple. Take your crimp, right? Maybe some chafe tubing in here if you'd like as well, if you're going to not re-rig it too often. And then we'll go back through the crimp, right? Burn this puppy down a little bit. This is like the most important part, and I see a lot of shops and a lot of people come in here with rigging that they do not do this. Burn the tip and create just a little bit of a bulb on top of there, a little mushroom tip. And the reason you do that is I've had people not crimp down the crimp, and that saved them. And that's actually can save you a lot too if you don't crimp correctly, or you put it too lightly of a crimp on there and don't press hard enough and it slips. That piece right there will save you more times than not. So make sure you do that, and then we'll set it in our crimper here. Get a little crimp going. You know, you don't want to smash your crimps too much either. That's a huge thing. I see a lot of these like flattened, crazy crimps. They look absurd, and you can chafe line off really easy doing stuff like that. We're going to pull this line back through on here, and then you'll just seat your crimp and seat your hook kind of towards the back of the flyer's tail here. And then what I usually will do is I'll take some Roy Rocher, those R&R rubber bands, and we'll rubber band this a few times just to keep it down. You could use any rubber band you got. That'll work just fine. We'll measure out how far of a leader we want. You want to make sure you don't get that thing too far away or it's out of gaff's reach once you get to like a swivel or something like that in the rod tip. That could really affect you. You don't want to have to grab the leader and pull that fish closer while you're trying to gaff and all that. So make sure you don't get it too long. I'll just cut a tiny bit off of this one. Cut that off, and then you'll crimp to yourself here to the other side. Make a little loop for you to snap to. And there we are. A nice little piece there. Shrink your loop down a little bit. There we go. All right, so you're ready to go on here. Just rubber band that puppy down and you're ready to move around. This is a great bait for while you're moving, you're trying to find fish, you want to have a bait out and still be covering ground, especially if you know you're in a little bit of a fishy area, you're just trying to find a good spot of fish to sit and set up on, or trying to find a good foamer to set up on. It's a great option to have this guy. Everybody should have one in their box. If you got any questions, come into the shop. We'd love to help you out. Thanks.